Okay, this is now tarot lesson number 147. And three things today. One is I want to tell you about Sue Bryce. And then we're going to look at the four elements in two different ways, using numbers, using Kairos numbers, and then major trumps that go with each letter of the alphabet. And I'll show you that. So first is Sue Bryce, and I mentioned Sue, I don't know how many years ago, but I haven't talked about her for a long time. So there's a video I saw years ago, and I'll put the link down below. So Sue is, she certainly was a photographer, a portrait photographer in New Zealand. And she was doing very well, so she went to Australia where there was a bigger market, and she failed. So in New Zealand, she took the photographs and she had a business manager who took care of appointments. And when she moved to Australia, she went on her own and she failed. And then she became successful and better when she got a business manager. And then she moved to Los Angeles because Hollywood, people want portrait photography. And she was doing badly, and then she got a business manager, and she began to prosper. So the reason I'm telling you about this is, and the reason that, well, what Sue talked about was how she, when you go to school, let's say you're good at languages, but you're bad at mathematics, they tell you what really hard at mathematics and become good at it. And Sue's point is, if you're not very good at mathematics, or if you're not very good at making appointments, hire somebody to make the appointments for you. Rather than think that you have to become really expert in all areas of life. Don't do that. Instead, figure out what you're good at and turn good into great. And I think that's the approach that I like. And so, whereas if you look at psychology generally, what they tend to do is figure out what's wrong with you and then try and fix it or fix you or make you fit with an ideal picture of a person. Whereas a horoscope shows how you're built, good and bad, strengths and weaknesses, and then it's up to you to develop the strengths and to minimize the weaknesses. But education and teachers and religious people and parents will try to get you to become good at what you hate or become good at what you really have no aptitude for or no interest in. And I think in a lot of ways, it's much better. You've got a better chance of being yourself and certainly being true to yourself and being happy if you develop what you're really good at and what you already have an interest in, and don't think you've got to become good at what you're not good at. And this goes back to what I think I mentioned last time. I'll get a pen here. So, do we begin with nothing and then it becomes something? Which is what people think. In the beginning there was nothing and then suddenly there was something. Or do we begin with everything? The way you're built, all that your strengths and weaknesses are, and then you do something with the way you're built rather than try to fit you into an ideal picture of what a human being is. And I think that's what psychology does. And I think that's why Werner Herzog said that psychoanalysis is the disease of the 20th century. Something along those lines. So, that was Sue Bryce. You ought to take a look at the video. It's really good, about fear as well. She's got a strong New Zealand accent. So in the beginning she talks about, she was doing a talk and on her phone she saw a text. And text is how they say text in New Zealand, I think. So if you listen to New Zealand politicians speaking, they've got a way of, they've got a particular accent. So anyway, Sue is from New Zealand and she's got quite a strong New Zealand accent. But that's what she's talking about in the beginning. So, four elements. And this is partly because I was looking at Jungian stuff again and the four functions, thinking, sensation, intuition, and emotion. I think that's it, or feeling rather. And so 4 elements, fire, air, earth and water, and they're meant to relate in some way. So if we write down fire, F-I-R-E, so rather than begin with fire, air, earth and water and try to make sense of them, we really ought to go back to the ancient Greeks philosophers who gave us the first idea about fire, air, earth and water, and they had their own opinions about what came first. Because what's the first element? Is it earth, or is it fire, or air, or water? And different philosophers will give you different answers to that question. And it may not seem relevant for us today, but it's going to educate us, and it's going to give us a greater understanding of anything we're involved in. So one way of looking at it is fire. If you use Cheiro's numbers, which I suggest, F-I-R-E, 8, F is 8, I is 1, R is 2, and E is 5, right? 8, 9, 11, 16. So fire, if I can show you, is 16. So fire in its own way is the Tower card. There happens to be a 16th major trump. So if you're talking about fire, maybe spend a few minutes now and again and think about in what way is the Tower, in what way does the element of fire relate to the Tower? That it's, I mean, fire, you think of a blaze and the fire takes over. Because that's the thing about fire, it needs to be controlled. If you leave a fire on its own, it'll burn itself up. And this can be the danger or the problem with the Tower card, that you think you can keep going forever, but you can't. Once you've used up all the fuel, you burn out. So think about the Tower card, and that's just one example of what you can do. But you could also, I'll leave that for the moment. So that's fire and the Tower. And then we've got air, A-I-R, which is 112. And you might recognize that from last week, where the Fibonacci series is 112, where you've got the original, whatever it is, and instead of beginning with nothing, like you're born empty, and society and parents fill you up and make you into whoever you are. That's not what's going on. You're born with a horoscope, and the horoscope shows the totality of you and what's working already and what needs to be worked on. So rather than you start off empty and you become full, you start off with everything that you are, and then there's a reflection of it, and so on. So anyway, the element of air is 1, 1, and 2, which is 4. So air is the Emperor. So what does that tell us about the suit of the air? The element of air makes you powerful, because the Emperor is powerful and he's running an empire. And that can mean that with the Emperor card, you have to keep your mind on multiple different areas at the same time. And that can be what makes the Emperor successful. He doesn't just focus on one thing. He's good at maybe delegating. He's good at having many irons in the fire, so to speak. Or he's good at keeping track of multiple projects going on at the same time. So air relates to the Emperor card. Fire, air, earth, E-A-R-T-H is 5, 1, 2, 4, 5. 5 and 1, 6, 8, 12, 17. So the earth card is the star. So what does that tell us? Earth, and maybe this relates to earth signs, that they're, I don't know what to say about the star. It's kind of beyond. Earth is where we are, and the stars are out there. So is the element of earth motivated by higher understanding, or motivated by what the star represents, that we're on earth, but we're meant to reach for the stars, that we're meant to understand the stars? Is this why we've got astronomy and people flying to the moon and sending out the James Webb spaceship or whatever it is, and understanding and mapping the solar system. Is that why we do it? Because we're on Earth, and Earth relates to the star. And the last element is water. WATER 61452 6711 18. So the sort of water, and this can be the water signs, is the moon card. And so we've got the moon showing, the moon card showing this creature emerging from water onto land. So it's a card of, the moon represents transformation. I know it's supposed to represent treachery and deception, which is fair enough. And maybe water signs are treacherous. Scorpio, yeah. Cancer, manipulative as can be. Pisces, more manipulative than you might think, because Pisceans are not just, or they're not principally beautiful, compassionate people. They've got a selfish streak in them, as do all the water signs. But with the moon, it's maybe the water signs and are about transformation, leaving behind what you're used to and moving into a new area or a new environment or a new kind of situation. So that's one way of looking at fire, air, earth, and water. The other is C.C. Zain wrote a book called The Sacred Tarot, and he gives you, and I'll put this in the link in the description below, he gives you a list of what major trumps go with what letter of the alphabet. And so we've got, let's do fire, begin with fire. F is 18, F is 17, I is 10 for the Wheel of Fortune, R is 20 for the Judgment card, and E is 5 for the Hierophant. So instead of thinking of, another exercise that you can try is you look for, or you look at, I had it sorted here kind of, fire, you put together the star, the Wheel of Fortune, if I can find it, F, I, R, and E. That's what fire is. Can you make sense of that? Maybe not immediately, but fire is, you've got inspiration, it changes things up, that gives you a chance to hear more of what you heard here, and it makes you wise, or it gives you information you can pass on to other people, represented by the Hermit, or the Hierophant rather. So it's just something, when you're wondering how to learn the tarot, or when you're not sure what to do, try this and put these four cards together, F-I-R-E. Forget about the fact that it's fire, but just looking at these four cards together, what kind of story do they tell? And you've got the star, then the Wheel of Fortune, then Judgment, and then the Hierophant. And it gives you a certain trajectory or a certain path to travel. And it can give you ideas about what the Hierophant represents, or another aspect of the Hierophant card, because the Hierophant card is the fourth card in this sequence. And maybe it will give you a different kind of information that you can pass on to somebody when the Hierophant card comes up, and something will trigger it in your mind based on this particular sequence. So that's fire. Air is A-I-R. It's the Magician, the Wheel of Fortune, and Judgment. Right, so we've got, for air, we've got the Magician here. A, Judgment. No, the Wheel of Fortune again, and Judgment. So that's what air and air signs are represented by. And it gives you a different way of understanding the air signs. So the Magician, ideas and creativity that can take you places. It can move you up the wheel or it can move you down the wheel. So the ideas of the magician can be uplifting or they can drag you down. But it's a wheel. So if you're uplifted, it's going to come down later. And if you're brought down, it's going to be uplifted later. All of which makes you capable of hearing a higher message. And maybe the higher message is your inner voice or your inner conscience or your inner guide, your inner wisdom. So, but maybe you don't get to your inner wisdom until you've had an idea that's maybe been tested in the world, because it's a wheel of fortune, goes round and round. And then we've got Earth, EARTH. So E is 5, A is 1, R is 20, and in Zain gives you diphthongs, which is two letters that go together, pronounced as one. So the TH is th, and so it is, can't remember, the Hermit. So this will be shown in the description down below. So you get some combinations like TH, TZ, TS, CH for Charles, for instance. Charles is CH, one card. ARLES. So Earth is the Hierophant, the Magician, Judgment again, and TH. So Earth is to make you wise, because the end card is the Hermit. And how do you get to be wise? Because you take conventional wisdom, what they teach you in school or what they teach you in your religion or what authority figures tell you, and you do something with it and you let it inspire you, and then you become wise and you're able to look back at the original message you were given and do something sensible with it, instead of just, which is what a lot of people do, people tell you stuff and you believe it and you accept it without really thinking it through. And then people wonder why they're unable to do certain things, or why things are difficult, or why their life isn't changing, or why they can't move. And a lot of it is because of you've been told stuff and you accepted it when you were little and never thought about it again. And this can be the point of being on Earth and living an Earth life, that you're meant to become wise. You're on your own, ultimately. And then the last element is water. W-A-T-E-R. W is 6, A is 1, T is the Fool, E is 5, and R is 20. Lots of 20 here. So we've got the Lovers, the Magician, the Fool. Let me just do it this way so it all goes into the camera. W-A-T-E for the Hierophant, and E and R for Judgment again. So water, is that water? Yeah, water is all about, well, it's not all about, don't like to say that, but water is about, you're given a choice. You make a choice, you make a decision, because you're at crossroads with the Lovers card. And then you do something with it. And maybe you realize you made a mistake. So you've got to get some extra information and maybe some background material. Then you can figure it out, because the last card is the Judgment card, which is hope in it, or it's rebirth and renewal. So Earth is about making a decision, following through with it, realizing that you're not as brilliant as you thought you were, or the idea isn't maybe as good as you thought it was. And so you have to renew it, or you've got a choice. You make a really good decision. It leads to new understanding, and you're able to do something with it, and that makes you connected to your inner being or something like that. This is looking at the basic meanings of the Lovers, but with the Magician followed by the Fool, we're looking in a positive kind of a way. It's a good idea, and you do something creative with it, and you really you can make a leap of understanding, which means that you're then able to, the kinds of things you say are more sensible, more wise, which turns you into a being who gives new life to people and gives them important answers to their questions. So that's what I wanted to do today. Susan's been back for a week, or for a month rather, and I thought when she was back I'd have an awful lot more time, but I don't yet have huge amounts of time because we've got all these appointments to go to and follow-ups and rehab exercise programs and various visits to specialists. So I'm hoping that over the next month I'll get more time to be able to plan more and with videos and so on, and other writing that I'm doing for the Tarot Reader Volume 3. I got stuck with it, and I'm doing this book on Hamlet that I got stuck with, but I'm hoping to get back to it quite soon. So thanks for watching, and if you have comments or questions, leave them down below, and we'll see what happens. Okay, thanks, bye-bye.